Hey there everyone, welcome back to another live stream. Today we'll be looking at IGCSE economics, that is 0455. So for this live stream, I actually planned something different. Um, so to be honest, I'm going to have my mock exams in November. So I'm preparing for that, and this is why I've started preparing for economics right now. So I wanted to do section one today, so I'll be teaching that to you guys. Section one has four chapters in it, which we'll be looking at. So I have my textbook beside me, but I also have the textbook in the form over here. So if there's any graph or anything like that, I can just easily switch and show you guys, or even use this to read out some things that are there. Okay, so without any delay, let's start. So we have chapter one, okay? Chapter one is the nature of the economic problem. Now, this is like the easiest chapter, which you do not even have to revise, but I'm just revising it for the sake of the video. So the nature of the economic problem. Okay. So I'll be reading from the textbook while explaining as well. Okay. So in every country, resources are limited in supply and decisions have to be made by governments, firms, and individuals about how to allocate scarce resources to satisfy their unlimited needs and wants. So over here we're looking at how do we allocate scarce CARC. Okay, let's even highlight scarce because this is the main word here. How do we allocate scarce resources? How do we allocate scarce resources to satisfy our unlimited needs and wants? So this is basically the nature of the economic problem. This is the economic problem. So you can have MCQs asking you what is the basic economic problem every country goes through. It's not going to be how to attain employment, how to obtain maximum employment, how to increase GDP. That is not the basic economic problem that governments are trying to solve or what economics is trying to solve. We are trying to look at how we can best allocate these scarce resources, resources that are limited in supply. Okay, how are we going to allocate them so that we can at least try and satisfy some of our needs and wants? Because we know that our needs and wants are unlimited. So that means that it is basically impossible to satisfy all of them. So that's why we need to find the best way in which we can allocate these resources to satisfy the ones that we can at least. Okay. So the actual definition over here is given that the basic economic problem is concerned with how best to allocate scarce resources in order to satisfy people's unlimited needs and wants. Okay. Um, okay, yeah, that's that. And then this is that essentially economics is the study of how resources are allocated to satisfy the unlimited needs and wants of individuals, governments, and firms in an economy. So if those of you that know this and those of you that don't know this, economics, right? Economics, it's a form of science because this is a social science. Okay. And now, what are we saying economics or this social sciences? It is looking at the study of how we are going to do this so that we can satisfy their unlimited needs and wants. So that's what basically economics is about. So everything that you will be learning in this in economics will have something in relation to do with this. Okay, we get that. Let's move ahead. So now in the textbook they have given a very nice diagrammatic representation over here. So they look at the way they have presented it over here. We have unlimited wants that are going out continuously because they are unlimited. They have no stop. So unlimited wants with limited resources. We have very few of them. And once you combine both of them, that gives us scarcity. Okay, so this is also basically called scarcity. Okay, having scarce resources, that's what scarcity is. Um, or we can also, in layman's term, call this shortage. But we'll look at shortage into detail when we look at market disequilibrium and all that. Okay, then they say that we have three main economic agents. Three main economic agents. Now, what are economic agents? Economic agents are people, individuals, firms, or government that make decisions. So these are the decision makers that run the economy. Okay, so decision makers. So the first one is households or individuals. That is me, you, your parents, your brother, your sister, your friends. We are individuals. Individuals. Because we also make decisions every day. Or households. In economics, we usually use the term households. Okay, so let me just underline that for you. Because we also make decisions every day, as I said. We may decide to buy something or we may decide not to buy something, and that has an economic impact in a way or the other, right? Then we have the businesses. Businesses are basically called firms. And lastly, we have the government. Now, it's governments also earn, and so do firms, right? So this are the three economic agents. Then we again have three basic economic questions answered by economic agents. So these three agents answer three questions. What are these three questions? These three questions are one, what, two, how, and three, okay, we are three below, three, for whom. So we have what to produce, then how to produce, and for whom to produce, right? Now, in one of the MCQs, they could ask you, what is what is the economic problem facing all countries? And you'll see that this answer is not there. You might notice that there's high employment or a balance of payment stability or something like that. And then you'll see that there's another option that will be what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So then this also becomes your economic problem that governments and societies try to answer. Okay, if that is noted, let's move ahead. Then firms and individuals produce goods in the private sector of the economy, and the government produces goods and service in the public sector. That means that when you're talking about sectors, right? That means we have two sectors. So we have the public and we have the private. So we are saying that in the public sector, this is where governments produce goods and services, and the private is where we have firms and I would say households over here. Okay, this is where they produce their goods and services. So on the book, they have said that primary sector refers to the economic activity of private individuals and firms. The private sector's main aim is to earn profit for its owners, and then public sector refers to economic activity directly involving the government, such as provision of blah blah blah. The main aim is service. Okay, so the main aim of the public sector is to provide service. Okay, because the government's aim is not to earn a lot of profit. Its aim is to provide a service to its individuals or to the households living in the country. But the private sector, their motive is or their aim is to earn profit. Because that is the only reason they produce, right? If they're not going to earn profits, why would they produce profits? Okay. That is clear. Then let's go into the differentiation. Not that one, sorry. goods and services. So, an easy question could ask you define goods and services, or what is the difference between goods and services? So, goods are physical and tangible items that can be touched. Sorry, physical items that can be that can basically be touched, right? Just like hardware of this thing of a computer system, and services are like the software. Okay, but do not relate that to this. I'm just giving an example that can be brought. Sorry, not brought or bought. Bought, sold, and produced. And services are the non-physical items then. Non-physical items that cannot be bought, sold, or produced but only be experienced. So let's take an example of service. And service could be a barber cutting your hair. So haircut. Whereas a good would be the scissor. How do you spell scissor? Is this how you spell? Scissor cutting your hair, right? So those are just two examples. Let me align them. Let's take another one. Maybe your driver. Your driver is providing a service to you, okay? And the car your driver not dives, drives or is the good, okay? So that's the basic difference between them. Then we also have, so just the way we have goods and services, we also have needs and wants. So oftentimes we actually say the wrong thing. I need a phone. You do not actually need a phone, you want a phone. Okay, so we'll look at that. Needs and wants. So needs are the essential goods and services. Essential. I'll just write GNS. Goods and services required. Now this is where the main part comes. Required for human survival. So that means that if you need something, that means that if you do not get what you need, you will die. That's basically what it's saying in layman's terms. Survival. So needs could be, let's say, shelter, food, water, protection, clothing, and maybe access to healthcare and education. So that is needs. And when we talk about want, it's something a desire. Let's keep it in simple terms. It is a desire or something that we need, though that we do not need. We just want it, which is a desire, but is not essential for human survival. Desire, not essential for HS, human survival. Okay? So we get that, then we'll go to the next thing. For the for the chapter one, this is the last thing that we'll be looking at. Then we'll move on to chapter two. Okay. So then we have economic goods and free goods. Okay, they usually bring MCQs on this, so be careful here. Economic and free goods. So economic goods, it's basically a good that is limited in supply. Limited in supply. And a free good is basically a good that is unlimited in supply and has no opportunity cost. So I'll explain this. Just wait a second. Let me write it down. Unlimited in supply with no opportunity cost. So what do you mean by limited in supply? Okay, let's take an example. Let's take cars, okay? Cars are economic goods because you do not have unlimited cars in this world. There's a limited number of cars that are available in this world, right? Or that are produced and that are there in this world. But when you take, say, let's say sunshine, there's unlimited sunshine that is there. You cannot measure how much sunshine is. And then if there's no sunshine, there's nothing else that you can substitute it for. For example, cars. If cars are not there, we can easily go for public buses. You can easily go for scooters. You can easily go for cycles. So they have opportunity costs. We'll be looking at opportunity costs, so don't worry. So, but you notice that if cars are not there, then we have other alternatives, right? But this one, the free good, we have no alternative. If sunshine isn't there, there's nothing else you can substitute it for. So it has no opportunity cost, okay? And it is unlimited in supply. So I've even given you more examples of economic goods. So for free goods, we can also have air, sea, rain, rainwater, and then to some extent public web domains. Because to be honest, like I'll tell the truth, we have a lot of public domains, like a lot. So you can even Google how many it is and do your personal research. So we are done with the first chapter. So let's see over here. So let's mark the first chapter as done. But before we move on to the next chapter, we will have to do the MCQs over here. Okay. What is the basic economic problem faced by all societies? Achieving happiness, inefficient economic system, rewarding factors of production, or scarcity of resources? Pause the video and think about it and then come back. I'll give you 5 seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As we said, scarcity is the basic economic problem. Scarcity of resources, basically shortage of resources. Then, which product is most likely to be classified as a free good? Let's wait another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This one will be C because we have a limited number of this. If I do not give you something in a better present, I can give you something else. If public transportation, if buses are not there, I can walk. If the state does not provide education, I can get private education. But if there's no seawater, I cannot get water in a different form. So that's why that is the answer. Now I'll recommend you do these questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Try them. Put the answers in the comment and I'll mark them for you. I'll tell you how correct they are. So let's give them mark. Okay, so just do 1 mark for each question and answer and let's see how you do. So, okay, that was that. Before we move on to the next chapter, let me just drink water and come because it's essential to hydrate. Okay, thank you for waiting. So now, since we are done with the first chapter, let's go on to the second chapter and let's work a bit faster because we have a lot of chapters to complete. Because I think economics has 39 chapters. So let's move fast. So let me use the textbook, I guess, which I think it will be faster for you guys as well. Okay, so chapter 2, factors of production. So, production of any good or service requires resources. Now, let's say you're using a book to write down notes from my life. In order to use that pen, to make that pen, you needed some resources, right? Maybe to make the spring in your resource needed. The plastic, maybe your pen is made of plastic, that plastic is a resource. Then the way in which the whole pen was made was using factors of production, and these are divided into four categories. Okay, so we are going to use the pen example and explain these things over here. So, land. The natural resources acquired in the production process, such as oil, coal, carbon, wood, metal ores, and agricultural products. So, land is not limited to just this land over here. Land can also include sheeps, animals, okay, etc. So do not limit yourself to thinking that land is only this land. Land can also be the sea as well, okay, or water bodies, right? Have that in mind. So these are the natural resources. So you see, they are all resources. So these are the human resources, manufactured resources, and we'll come to that. Then labor is the human resources required in the production process, includes skilled and unskilled labor. So let's say so basically, skilled labor and unskilled labor. In fact, let me not go into detail right now. We have a whole chapter dedicated to that, which is workers. Wait, what happened? Yeah, which is workers. So we'll discuss it over there. Then we have capital. Capital is the manufactured resource required in the production process, such as machinery, tools, equipment, and vehicles. Now, you see, when you talk about capital, right? Let me use the white space here. Capital. We usually think this relates to cash, money, and all that. But in factors of production context, let's bring it down over here. In this context over here, it's not referring to money or cash. These are machinery, tools, and equipments and vehicles that are helping in the production process. So let's say a truck. A truck would be part of capital. Or let's say, um, what should I give an example? A lift used in the production process is capital. Okay. Now, if we get that, let's move on to the last one. Let me erase this. This is very subway. Uh, yep. Just a second. Okay. So enterprise. Now, the skills a business person requires to combine and manage the other three factors of production. So enterprise is managed by what? Entrepreneur, right? And the entrepreneur does what? He combines land, capital, labor, and brings them together to start his firm and do the production of his goods and services. So he manages these three in order for the production of goods and services. Now we have okay, so examples I've been giving here. So factory building, machinery, computers, tools, trucks, etc. Enterprise, the risk taking and business skills required to organize the production process successfully. Okay. Labor is people working in the production line, administration task, etc. And land is natural resources such as sugar, water, and caffeine. Okay. Then we have rewards for factors of production. So you see these factors of production, right? Land. Let's go back. Let me start here. So let me write chapter 2. Like, this is very How do you guys like it? Should we just stay back here? Okay. So let's say, okay, chapter 2. So you see the factors of production, right? I usually write them as FOPS. So we have what? Land, then we have labor, capital, and enterprise. So now you usually memorize, no need to even memorize them. You get it when you're doing like economics. So once you read through and solve questions, you'll just remember them. Enterprise. So now we are saying that these factors of production have something called rewards. Okay, that's mentioned over here. Okay, and you see these rewards, right? There's a specific name given to them. So these rewards are called, write it in big words, income. So now we know that firms and individuals, we all need a form of income in order to live and have a good standard of living, right? So how does land get income? So land gets its income from rent. Okay. Labor gets its income from wages. Okay, then right. Wages and or salaries. Capital gets its reward or income from interest, and enterprise gets from profits. Let's check if those are correct. Because, yeah, so rent, wages and salaries, interest and profit, and it's together known as income. Great. Then mobility. Okay. Then what else do we have? Okay, causes of changes in quantity and quality. Okay, so when we talk about mobility of factors of production, mobility comes from the word mobile, which means to move, right? So we are basically looking at the movement of factors of productions. So we have two different types of mobility. We first have geographical, and the second one has occupational. So when we are defining them, geographical mobility, we can just say it refers to the willingness and ability of a person to relocate from one geographical area to another geographical area um, for employment purposes. Now, please note this, okay? Geographical mobility over here, we are looking at the mobility for labor, okay? Because when we talk about mobility, right, we are not just limiting ourselves to geographical and occupational mobility of laborers, okay? We are taking into account all labors, land, capital, enterprise, and all that. So over here, it specifically said labor, but you can also have it for other factors of production. Now, why will a person would not be geographically mobile? We have family ties and related commitments, and we could have cost of living. Now, when we talk about family ties and related commitments, let's say that you live in, let's say, Kenya, and you want to move to, let's say, Ghana for employment purposes, but you cannot leave because you have a child who is very young and cannot go to a different country where you have no relatives or something like that. That will make you stay in Kenya and not be able to go to Ghana for employment purposes, right? So that is a reason why people cannot be geographically mobile. And let's say for Ecuador and let's say Russia, I guess. So the cost of living in Ecuador is very cheap, whereas the cost of living in Russia is very expensive. Now, even though a person might be getting more money in Russia compared to Ecuador, if the cost of living is very expensive, the person will decide to rather stay in the cheap country Ecuador. No, the country Ecuador where there's cheap or cheaper cost of living, so that he'll be able to save more from his earnings. Okay, so that's gonna be another reason why a labor or a factor of production is geographically not mobile. Then let's move on to the second one. Let me just clean this. Give me a second. Then we have occupational mobility. Let me just drink water again. Just a second. Okay. So geographical mobility refers to the ease at which a person is able to change between jobs. Now, you see, we have made mention of jobs. That means we are again limiting ourselves to labors. But as I said, when you are talking about mobility, please do not refer yourself to only labors. We have geographical and occupational mobility of the other factors of production as well. So, okay, occupational mobility basically, how easily can a person change between one job and to another? Okay, let me just write second job. So let's say your first job was let's say working in a construction company, construction company, and there's another job open for, let's say, an accountant in a big firm. Now, this construction company worker cannot go and become an accountant in a big firm. He doesn't have the right skills that is needed for being an accountant, right? That's why he's not occupationally mobile. So that is, yeah. So that means that he cannot easily change from one job to another. But if he was into, let's say, the construction of homes, he can easily go into the business where they construct only big businesses or factories, right? He or she in this case is occupationally mobile. Okay, so yeah, that is what it is. So one way we can make our workers more occupationally mobile is developing and training them. So usually education, yeah, so education and training that gives them or increases their skill sets, which allows them to perform a greater range of jobs, right? I think I'll be doing this the last chapter. Okay, no, chapter 3 is very short. Um, then PPC. Okay, PPC is also not that long. Okay, I'll finish it, no problem. Then we have causes of changes in the quantity and quality of factors of production. Okay, so first we have changes in the cost of production. Let's say that we make pens at $10 and we sell them at $12. Okay, now the profit margin over here is what, $2, right? Now in this $10, right? Maybe the cost of labors or the one worker making the pen takes $5 from it. Now, if the cost of production were to increase, or maybe the labor now took $7, so this price over here will increase. So because this increased by $2, for example, the firm maybe will have to increase this by $2. So it becomes $12, the cost of production and its profit margin, so plus $2. That means that it will now sell the pens at $14. So now this has caused a change in this thing, a change in how much is supplied. So the quantity has been changed. To demand, yes, so demand of labor. So now because of this, because of the higher cost of production, increase in cost of production of labor, because you have to pay them more, we are now, the firms are, or the companies are now going to demand less workers, because they wouldn't want to pay so much to workers and then decrease their profit margins or decrease their demand, right? So that is one. Then government policies can affect cost of production. Okay. So government policies, we can look at it in two terms or two ways. Just a second. Yeah. So we have taxes and we have subsidies. So subsidy, okay, I'm sure we all know what taxes are. The subsidies are basically financial assistance assistance given by the government to firms in order to help reduce prices. We'll look into subsidies at a later in a later chapter. This is just the beginning, so don't stress yourself with this. So government policies, when government imposes high taxation, right, this will increase the cost of production, which will increase prices, which will decrease the quality or quantity of the factor of production, right? So yeah, so then because of this, maybe the company might start removing a few workers or something like that in order to maintain its original price of, let's say, $12 that we're talking about. And then we have that is for increasing taxation. What about decreasing taxation? If the government decrease taxation, then firms will now be able to have higher profits and they'll be able to employ more, let's say, employ more workers that will help them to increase their supply, right? So now, did you notice how taxation? This taxation is easily related to cost of production, and you'll notice that in economics, almost every point is connected to each other. So when you are writing your exams, it's not like 1 point you say, 2 point you say, 3 point you say. All these three, two, one, they're all connected together that you have to stay in one all together to get the maximum marks possible. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and subsidies. So we are saying that financial assistance. So once subsidies are given to firms, their cost of production decreases, which means that they can now also again employ more workers and blah blah blah. Right? So that's done. Then we have technology. Technology can help cut the average cost of production. If cost of production decreases, that means that demand for other things for so cost of production decrease, so they can also decide to decrease their price, which will cause them to have higher profits, increasing their demand and all that. So technology can also lead to higher productivity. Productivity is basically the output per worker. We'll look at that, don't worry, this is just the beginning, so don't stress yourself too much. Then where we have net migration of labor. So net migration, we have emigration and immigration, which we'll look at in chapter 34. So you have a long way to go. This also affects the quantity of labor in the economy. So if people migrate into the country, the if people migrate to a country then emigrate to other country, then the number of labor in that country will increase. And we have a Latin word in economics called ceteris paribus, which means with all other, okay, it's even written over here, with all other things being equal. So in economics, when you're usually comparing things, we usually compare it with having ceteris paribus in mind, with other things being equal, so that it's a fair comparison, right? Then, oops. Then, why can't I write? Then we have improvement in education and healthcare, increase the demand for workers, and improvement in education and healthcare will also improve the quality of the workers because they will now be more productive and higher valued to the firms. So you can easily see this point also relates to this point. Then this will reduce the supply of agricultural products. Maybe it will also affect the quality of the goods that are produced. Whereas good weather conditions will increase supply and maybe increase quality and quantity, how much is produced of the agricultural output. Now we're done with chapter 2. So let's look at this. Which option is not an example of capital as a resource? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Natural resources. Question 2. Which event is most likely to cause an increase in the average wage of labor? Okay, let's read the question. Decrease in the national minimum wage, increase in the national minimum wage, government, okay. Net migration of labor into the country. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It should be national minimum wage. You look at this NMW. in market equilibrium and disequilibrium. So don't worry, we'll get to that. So before we move on to the chapter, let's take a 5 minute break. When you're watching this video, I'm sure you can just skip this part so it will be better for you. So let me just drink water again and come because talking really takes up a lot of um I mean you Bob, right? Okay. Okay, we are back. So we are going to be completing this really quick now. Okay, opportunity cost. Fairly easy chapter. So when we talk about opportunity cost, right? You're talking about the next best alternative. Yeah. Yeah, so it's the next best opportunity or alternative foregone when making an economic decision. Every choice made has an opportunity cost because in some cases there is an alternative. For example, the opportunity cost of you watching this video right now is the time you could have spent reading your textbook instead of watching this video. So the you reading from your textbook becomes the opportunity cost over here. Similarly, let's take another example. Let's say the opportunity cost of you going to school every day is the experience lost that you could have that you could have gotten from working in a factory or under someone, right? So that is that. The influences of opportunity cost on decision making. So opportunity cost, what's happening? Opportunity cost is experienced by everyone. It's experienced by consumers, experienced by firms, experienced by governments, and everyone. So let's take an example. Consumers experience opportunity cost when they're deciding on, let's say, what to buy. Should I buy, let's say, apples or should I buy oranges? So if I decide to buy apples, then buying oranges becomes the opportunity cost. And the same way, if I bought oranges, then buying apple becomes the opportunity cost, right? Then, for firms, let's say a firm can decide on which product to produce. If a firm decides to produce or sell water, and the other option was to sell, let's say, a soft drink. If the firm decides to sell water, then the opportunity cost becomes the profit they could have earned from selling soft drinks. Similarly, if the firm decides to go for the soft drink, then the opportunity cost becomes the profit they could have generated from selling water. And then lastly, we have government. Should a government spend on healthcare or education? If the government decides to spend on healthcare, then the opportunity cost becomes the number of children that could have been educated if the government had spent on education. And if government decides to spend on education, then the opportunity cost will be the number of lives that could have been saved due to the healthcare facilities uh, if the government had what I said spent for in healthcare, right? That is basically this chapter. So do these questions, guys, and let's see how you do them. So let's take a 5 minute break again, or 2 minute break this time, and I'll give you time to solve this. Okay, so the time starts now. Okay, let's move on to the last chapter before we end this. How long has this stream been going on for? Wait, where do I check it? Okay, I don't even know where to check because of the way it has been positioned. But okay, no problem. Anything for you guys. Okay, shift. Okay, okay. Basically, easy chapter. So we have PPC or production possibility curves, and it's a diagram that shows the maximum combination of any two categories of goods and services that can be produced in an economy. Let's say I have this PPC. Okay, so maybe I'm producing petrol and I'm producing timber. So this PPC shows the maximum combination that I can get of both the petrol and timber. Um, yeah, that is what PPC is. So we have an example here. So we have olive oil and we have wooden furniture and we have some points on the PPC. And now we are going to be looking at what those points are. So if this is the point, that means that the government is producing only wooden furniture and none of the olive oil. Okay? If the point is here, that means that the government is producing B quantity of olive oil, which is 100%. So B quantity of olive oil and only olive oil and no wooden furniture. If the point is at C, that means that the economy or the country is producing W1 of wooden furniture and O1 of olive oil. And if the point is D, that means the country is producing W2 of wooden furniture and O2 of olive oil. If the point is over here at okay, E before F. So if the point is here, this means that it is currently unattainable. Currently unattainable. And if the point is over here F, then this shows inefficiency. Wait, how do I? Okay, so this has been explained over here. So we have point A, B, C, D, E, and F over here. Okay. Then we have movement and consequences of shifts along the PPC. So we have movement first, and then we have PPC. So for a country to be on its PPC, two conditions have to be met. All resources are being used, and there's efficiency in the use of these resources. Factors of production are allocated to their best use and purpose. So yeah, so a movement along the PPC is basically this. So we are moving from X to Y. Similarly, this is also a movement if let's say make it C. If we're moving from X to Z, so basically a movement. So now let's just look at X to Y. So X to Y now means that instead of C producer okay, okay. So instead of C quantity of producer goods, the economy will now make D quantity of producer goods. Instead of A quantity of consumer goods, it will now make Y quantity of uh, B quantity of consumer goods. That's basically what it's saying. Then when we look at shifts, right? The shifts, we have outward shift and we have inward shift, okay? So outward shift is basically caused by increase in the quality of factors of production, such as better skilled labors, which can be achieved through investment in investment in education and training. Then we can have increased productivity by better technology and improved production techniques. Maybe there's some new machine in the market which enables us to supply more or make more goods, then that will cause the PPC to shift to the right or outward. Okay. Increase in the factor of production, such as discovery of a new resources. So let's say discovery of oil will cause the PPC to shift to the right because we will now be able to supply and produce more of this thing. As the name suggests, production possibility curve. So how much is the country production? What is the possibility of it producing goods in this way or this manner, right? So outward PPC can also show economic growth, and inward can show economic decline. So it can go inward due to, let's say, loss of factor of production, or maybe, let's say, unfavorable weather conditions such as flood or something like that. Something that will decrease how much a country produces. And that is that. So now we are done with section one and with this as well. So I hope you enjoyed. I tried something new. I'm not sure how it went. If you liked it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the stream. I'll try and make shorter videos. I know this one went very long.